All right, welcome into Celtics Postgame Live, everybody. After a huge win against the Phoenix Suns and a much needed win for the Celtics following those two really disappointing games against the Timberwolves, losing to Jalen Norwell and Greg Monroe, and then following it up with the game against the depleted Clippers, where they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean, and they come into this game against the Suns. The Suns dealing with their own onslaught of players on the COVID list and injuries and whatnot. But it really seemed like, they have Chris Paul, they have Devin Booker. You're still talking about the best team in the NBA, arguably. And what are you supposed to do? It really it felt like it was pretty obvious the Celtics were going to lose this game. They were going to have dropped would have been their third straight, or even an even longer losing streak at this point. I think it just would have been three straight, but it felt like it was kind of destined to go that way, and that Boston was just going to end up, this was just going to be another one on the pile. Like, yeah, it would have been their fourth straight loss. Excuse me. So they just another one to add on to this list of disappointing performances. It's like, well, yeah, you couldn't beat the Timberwolves and Clippers. So you're going to beat the Suns. And they did. They came out today. Not only did they beat the Suns, they handled them all game. It was never really close from the first quarter on. The Suns tried to fight back in the fourth quarter and the second half a little bit, but the Celtics never let them. I don't think it ever got back within single digits. And Boston just kind of rolled from the start to finish almost. I mean, really, the first quarter was a little back and forth. Boston pulls away near the end of the first quarter, and that was it. And it looked like the closest Phoenix got at the end there was late in the fourth. They cut it as low as, let's see if I can get to it. Phoenix cut it as low as 13, and that's as close as they got from the second quarter on. So credit to the Celtics, good performance, and the man of the night, the man of the hour, certainly was Robert Williams. Robert Williams was it was one of his best games as a Celtic. And before I get into the Robert Williams hype, because to be honest with you guys, I just want to talk good about Robert Williams right now. That's all I want to do. That's all I want to do. But I'm going to just caveat it by saying that yes, there were there was a lack of centers on the Suns roster. Last time the Celtics played the Suns and they had JaVale McGee. DeAndre Ayton wasn't playing in that game either. Didn't play tonight, this afternoon. And JaVale McGee dominated Robert Williams. JaVale McGee embarrassed Robert Williams last time the Celtics and Suns played, quite frankly. It was ridiculous that JaVale McGee, this journeyman, was able to have the type of game he was against Robert Williams. And in this game, Robert Williams is going up against, Jalen Smith, which isn't exactly the cream of the crop in the NBA. Jalen Smith is a young player that, and Jalen Smith even had a decent enough game today. It helps that he's playing alongside some great players in Chris Paul and Devin Booker. But, Jalen Smith was okay offensively, but Jalen Smith is not on Robert Williams' level. He's not on Al Horford's level, for that matter, who we'll get into, because the Celtics just dominated the game in the paint. That's what it came down to. They kept, it was ridiculous to see. It wasn't ridiculous. It was almost funny and comical to see how much the Celtics were posting up Al Horford, posting up Grant Williams, getting the ball down low to Robert Williams, or at least having him put it in on putbacks. He didn't have, it's not like they were feeding him down low, but they were getting Grant and Al Horford a lot of post-up looks because the Suns just didn't have anybody on the interior. And so from that standpoint, yeah, Rob's game looks a little less impressive because he didn't have to deal with Ayton. He didn't even have to deal with JaVale McGee. The Suns had no one inside. Fine. But there were so many other things about Rob's game today that had nothing to do with the fact that the Suns didn't have centers. For one thing, when he was switched on to Chris Paul for all but one or two possessions, and he was switched on to Chris Paul a lot, especially in that first quarter, he was really, really holding his own. I mean, Robert Williams was not letting Chris Paul by him. All Chris Paul did against him all night when he got that switch was settle for jump shots over the top of him, which most of which missed the mark. He did an incredible job when he was switched on to Chris Paul in this game. So you have to give him a ton of credit for that. And some of the blocks he had, I mean, that block against Devin Booker, my goodness. And then another one of the blocks on the perimeter, I think it was against Cameron Payne. Like his shot, it's not like Jalen Smith was putting up hook shots and Robert Williams was spatting him back. Like he was all over the place today, and he deserves a lot of credit for one, his defense, because his defense, we know how good it is. But today was another level. 5 blocks, and what he did against Chris Paul, like he took it up a notch for this one, and it certainly helped the Celtics get the win. And then offensively, forget the fact that they didn't have any centers. Like Robert Williams' passing was incredible, and I don't know. Again, a little bit of that comes back to it because a lot of his feeds were inside. He was up top, and Jalen Smith had to come out. I don't know whoever was guarding him at that point in the game. And, he would dump it into Marcus Smart for a little post up or Grant Williams or whatever it was, right? And so, a lot of them came off those kind of looks, but you still give Rob credit. And, that element of it, I guess, has is factored into the Suns not having centers because they didn't have anyone to protect the paint. So, the Celtics were just throwing it down there to their players, whoever was down there, whether it was Smart, Grant Williams, whatever, and saying, go after it. But, overall, like Robert Williams' performance, I think that you can't say much of it is just due to the fact that Ayton wasn't there. So because he did so many other things that had nothing to do with who was guarding him. Whether it was his passing, whether it was his switching on to Chris Paul and all these other guys for the Suns and rotating and making great blocks. Like it was all fantastic. And I'm not going to go as far as to say that like this is the Robert Williams the Celtics need. I don't want to go quite that far because the Celtics don't need a triple-double and 5 blocks every game from Robert Williams, right? That's asking way too much. But Robert Williams as, a third star is something that before the season I was hoping for and I was pleading for, and I was saying that this guy can be an all-world defender. We already know he's a good passer. He can jump out of the gym. He's an incredible lob threat. Like he should be, I said that he should be like Rudy Gobert for you. At the very least, he should be DeAndre Jordan for you. Like DeAndre Jordan in his prime alongside Blake Griffin and Chris Paul when, hey, DeAndre Jordan made an all-star team in there. And we clown DeAndre Jordan now, but he was a decent third player for the Clippers, and he was part of their success. So at the very least, Robert Williams should have been able I was hoping to give you that, to be, this lob threat, a shot blocking presence, and do a little bit even more than that. Like I think his potential is better than DeAndre Jordan's. So that's what you need from Robert Williams. That is what you need. You don't need 5 blocks and a triple-double every night. That's, every once in a blue moon, it's nice. But, as far as his performance today, it's very encouraging to see because they needed it to beat the Suns team. And you see that if Robert Williams is at his best, you can beat the best teams in the league. And you don't even need Jason Tatum. Like, that is the type of potential he has. And if he reaches it, we can stop talking about trades. We can stop talking about all this stuff having to do with the team and changing and all that stuff. Because just with another year or two of progression, Robert Williams is a little bit older, Jason Tatum's a little bit older, Jaylen Brown's a little bit older, Pritchard, Langford, Grant Williams. Like, this team will age into a contender. And Robert Williams' performance tonight was encouraging from that standpoint to me. It's just one game, so we'll see what happens from there. We'll go into some other points from the game. I see you guys in the chat. Birkin saying moving the ball was the recipe to success tonight. And Birkin, I need to check the stat sheet. I don't think that the Celtics. What was I going to say? I mentioned Robert Williams' triple-double off the top. Like when he has 10 assists, we talked about needing a pass-first point guard. Maybe it's Robert Williams, if he's going to get 10 assists every night. But a lot of the facilitating, I think, was deliberately done by the bigs to say, okay, we're just going to pull anybody with any sort of size on the Suns out of the paint, dump it in. So, like, Al finished with 7 assists, Robert Williams finished with 10, and, like, facilitating through your bigs, maybe that is a key. Maybe that is something the Celtics will go back to a little bit more because they say, hey, you know what? We don't have that pass-first point guard. Marcus Smart hasn't been great in that role. Dennis Schroeder controlling the offense certainly hasn't worked for us. So maybe Al Horford and Robert Williams running things a little bit more, like that could be your recipe to success. And when you look at all their offensive players, it's funny because Robert Williams is kind of one of their best passers. He is a very, very willing passer and a very talented passer. I would say he's a better passer than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Like, yeah, I think, you could really argue that him and Smart are the best passers on your team. So, and maybe you throw Schroeder in there, maybe you don't. I don't know. But, I mean, with a performance like he had today, maybe that's a sign that, like, hey, let's do this more often. Let's let Rob be the guy that facilitates the offense a little bit more often. Maybe that'll actually end up working for them. So something for the team to think about going into the new year. Like, hey, maybe give Rob more opportunities as that kind of guy, as your playmaker. Maybe that could work. Maybe he can be your Jokic. I remember, that's a little too far, but I remember there was a stat last year. It was something like players to put up 20 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and shoot 100% in a game. And it was Wilt Chamberlain, Nikola Jokic, and Robert Williams. So Robert Williams isn't Nikola Jokic, but I know this sounds crazy because they look so different as players, but he does some Nikola Jokic type things. Robert Williams and Nikola Jokic aren't as dissimilar as you might think. Like, they actually have some qualities, especially passing wise, that you can kind of compare a little bit. And I think that's, again, it's a little bit too far. It's a little bit too much because Nikola Jokic is probably one of the best passers you'll ever see. Definitely among the best passers at his position you'll ever see. But Robert Williams has just a little bit of that, and they overlap in some ways. And I mentioned the stat from last year, like, you can't deny that. It's Rob, Grant, and Rob, Wilt, and Nikola Jokic. Like, that's good company. So I think it might have been centers too. Centers to do that. It might not have been all players, but centers to do 100% in the game, 28 and 8. So, but yeah, that was a great stat. But yeah, Birkin, ball movement was certainly a key. What do they have total on it for the assists for the team? Let's see. It was quick math. That's 28 assists, I think, if I did the math correctly. So yeah, 28 assists is going to do it. I know that we talked about all those. There was before the game, especially before this game, that quote from Ime Udoka went kind of viral of him saying at his introductory press conference as a coach when he first got here with the Celtics, saying, 28th in assists, Brad, like, or 27th in assists, whatever it was, like, we're going to have to change that. And then they've averaged less assists per game this year. Like, people started digging that up and saying, oh, look at Ime Udoka, like he can't, he's a liar or a fraud or whatever. People were saying this. And they come out today and have a great passing game. So hopefully it's a sign of things to come. I would love to see that as a sign of things to come. But yeah, great point, Birkin, as always. Shout out to Birkin for showing up. Phil, Celtics didn't blow a huge lead. I was waiting for it, Phil. Were you not waiting for it? You're like, Celtics are big. Going into the third quarter, the Suns look like they're coming out with a little bit more energy. And every time you thought, oh my gosh, they're going to blow it. Oh my gosh, is this the time where the Suns come back? I don't want to look. The Celtics stopped the run. They did. They did a great job today of not blowing the big lead for once and finally making sure that they held on to it and they held on to the end and they beat one of the best teams in the NBA. So, hey, shout out to the Celtics. I'm not going to, we can say we can talk about them blowing huge leads when they blow a huge lead again, but today we can be happy about this one. Birkin saying Time Lord greater than Ayton. Birkin, I wouldn't go that far yet. I think it's a little too quick for that, but I like where your head's at. Birkin. And I'll also tell you what, I was thinking today, this is just a random thought, but I'm just going to talk to you guys about it. Like, if you're the Suns, what kind of a package could you put together for Karl Anthony Towns if you wanted to do that probably in the offseason, okay? Like DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, and picks. Like, what do you guys think? If I just let me know in the chat. Who says no? If you are, the Timberwolves and maybe Towns gets more disgruntled, I don't know. Like, I'll explain it and then you tell me who says no. Because Karl Anthony Towns, eventually his contract might come up and they might have to trade him and whatnot. So if you do Ayton, Bridges, and like 3 unprotected picks way in the future to Minnesota for Towns, then all of a sudden, if you're Minnesota, you get to put Bridges and Ayton next to Anthony Edwards. They line up a little bit better age-wise, so they should all come into their prime at the same time. And hey, maybe that works. I don't know. I mean, obviously the Timberwolves would have to sign Ayton to an extension and deal with that mess that the Suns have gotten themselves in. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. That random thought, popped into my head today that I was thinking about. But Phil saying Time Lord is triple-double machine. Again, like, too early to say that he's a triple-double machine, but he hasn't had a triple double before, but he's had games like this in the past. Like I mentioned, the 28-8 game, like he's shown an ability to pass, and we know he can get lobs, and we know he can rebound, and throw the shot blocking in there too. He can rack up a triple double with blocked shots one day. He really could. So it's a little too early, but I feel I like where your head's at. I'm telling you, maybe one day we can call him a triple double machine. But for now, I'll just take the one. I'll be happy with the one. Evan saying, like I've said all season, get to the point, move the ball, and play decent defense, and the Celtics will be a good team. This was a great example of the Celtics playing to their potential. They were hitting shots all night. They were playing great defense. They were playing team defense. And really the stars of the game in this one were Grant, and it was the Williams brothers. It was Grant and Rob, the Williams brothers, Put them up against the Williams sisters, They're the second best pair of Williams siblings in sports. But, they're making a run at first. Like, the Williams brothers were just great tonight, and a big part of it was that really no one on the Suns could even pretend to guard those guys today. So it was a great performance, and, I think that hopefully it's a sign of things to come, right? New year, new team, right? I don't know. As they ring in the new year, I just think that if they can put everything together, like you see where the pieces will fit, right? You see that, okay, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and you have Robert Williams, your defensive ace. You have Grant, who's going to be a do-it-all guy for you. You have Pritchard, who's just a knockdown shooter. You have Nesmith, who could just be a knockdown shooter. Like, the young guys are there and can be the role players you need them to be. Romeo, your lockdown perimeter defender, it's just they still need to mature a little bit more. And it could take some time and some patience, unfortunately. I know we're done being patient. We don't want to be patient anymore. We feel like we've been patient for like 2 years with this team, even longer than that, dating back to the Isaiah years and then knocking on the door and I'm wanting to finally punch it through. They kind of they kind of had a setback when Kemba fell off and Gordon Hayward left. And it's like, you don't have 4 kind of all-star caliber players anymore. You have 2. And now you need to grow, the young guys back up. So maybe that's just the rational mindset that we have to have at this point, rather than saying, ripping our hair out and saying, blow it up. Maybe that's it. But today was a little glimpse of how good they can be when everything's working for those young guys and when they all reach their potential. And in a few years, maybe that happens more consistently. Mike saying, is Dennis hurt? I think Dennis is still in COVID protocols. That's why he's out. But if you ask, shout out to Jack Simone NBA. If you ask him, he's hoping Dennis Schroeder is traded as soon as possible. He doesn't want Dennis Schroeder on the team anymore. So right now he's just on the COVID list, but who knows? In due time, either you might be asking, hey, is Dennis Schroeder hurt? He's like, no, he's in Los Angeles or whatever, with the Clippers, not the Lakers. I don't think they're done with him, but some team, whatever. We were talking about that the other day. But I think, Dennis Schroeder's time as a Celtic, he might not play many more games as a Celtic. He gets off the COVID list, comes back for a few games, and then the trade deadline is fast approaching, guys. The trade deadline is not that far away, especially as we get into January. Let's see, trade deadline this year. I don't know if I want to find the exact date. I don't know if anybody has it off the top of their head, but let's see if I can see what the date is. February 10th, it looks like, is the trade deadline. So that's just about, what's that going to be, 41-ish days? 41-ish days, so you're looking at about 6 weeks. Hey, it's coming up fast, guys, coming up fast. 6 weeks is not a lot of time. Phil saying, Celtics played 48 minutes for once. True, yeah, they played all 40 minutes. Did not have the lapse, did not blow the lead, Phil. As I know you're clamoring for the done with the blown leads. And they never let up. And it was an entire team effort. I mean, the bench points especially, I remember they said in the first half, I know it was like a season high for bench points in the first half. I think they had I want to say they had 30 with a few minutes to go. I forget what it ended up at just for the half. But for the game as a whole, Richardson with 19, Langford with 16, Pritchard with 11, and that was it. Those were their only guys off the bench, but they all played great. Finished with 46 combined points. Langford, too, one of his best games as a Celtic. So you got to give Langford a lot of credit. But, yeah, all those guys off the bench were great, and that's why you're able to play a full 48. And, hey, they shortened the rotation tonight. They kind of have to with COVID protocols and everything like that and players being out. But you give Ime Udoka some credit for making sure, hey, we're just going to play our 8 best guys, and that allows you to play a full 48 because you don't have to say, all right, well, this guy's getting minutes, that guy's getting minutes. Like, everybody played well. Not only shortening the rotation, but just the fact that 1 through 8 in that rotation, everybody was firing on all cylinders. You didn't have one player who you looked at and said that guy wasn't pulling his weight. Everybody played well, and it allows you to get through a game without having those blown leads. And that's what we talk about when we mention, the whole thing of, the Celtics needing depth, right? And the fact that depth matters in the NBA. So many people want to tell you that it's all about the 3 stars. The depth doesn't matter, that you don't need depth to win a championship, all this stuff. But when you don't have it and you blow leads, like, that's a problem. So, this is a great example. And I think the Celtics all season, when they haven't been coming through, a great example of, like, this is why depth matters, because you need everybody to play well to beat really good teams like the Phoenix Suns, who are very deep usually, when they aren't missing McGee and Ayton particularly. But Evan saying, also, like I've said, Celtics have been playing better without JT. Trade him. We got another call for trading JT. I'm telling you, Evan, just be patient. It's not about playing better without this guy or without that guy. I know so many people are so eager to take that route, but just wait. If you have all of these guys in their prime, you wait to have Jason Tatum and when he's 27 in his prime, Jaylen Brown at 28, and then Romeo Langford hitting his prime, that's weird for the first name for me to bring up, but Robert Williams, Peyton Pritchard, all these guys hitting their prime at the same time, like, you'll have a full team and they'll start to play a lot better together. It's just, the answer is not just trade Jason Tatum and then what? For what and then what? I think just because they're playing better doesn't mean they're a better team without him. And I know we've said that for a long time, but like, you remember people argued they're better without Hayward or they're better without Kemba. No, they're not. You see that those guys are gone now and they suck. Like, it's not, now you trade Jason Tatum, you'll be even worse. You will be overall because it'll balance out. So that's kind of what you're looking at. You just need to be more patient. Phil saying, I agree, Rob can be the 3rd star. He needs to be more consistent and work more on low post moves. And if Rob can be the 3rd star, that solves a lot of your problems. Again, like DeAndre Jordan with the Clippers is the comparison there. A little better. Like, I'd like him to be somewhere in between DeAndre Jordan and Rudy Gobert, just somewhere in the middle of that, with a little bit of passing sprinkled in. I don't need you to be Nikola Jokic. I know I brought his name up earlier, and I was, talking about how there's some qualities there. He's not going to be Nikola Jokic, and I don't need him to be. I need him to be somewhere between Gobert and DeAndre Jordan. Just give me that, okay? And don't be DeAndre Jordan at the free throw line. Like, those are the 2 things. JR saying, killed everyone's parlay, shaking my head. The Celtics, I'm saying this, I guess you're saying the Celtics killed everyone's parlay. Hey, that's what happens sometimes. I know that I've had the big parlay a few games ago that got ruined by 1 point. The Nuggets, the Nuggets Clippers game that I know a lot of you guys were watching out for. But yeah, it's the one game. You hate the New Year's Eve spoiler. So hey, you know what? At least you can just sit back. You can enjoy the rest of your night. It would have sucked if your parlay got ruined by whatever bowl game's going on at 11 o'clock at night, and you were waiting. Now you just enjoy your New Year's Eve, okay? Better, trust me, based on Ev's, you guys remember, if you guys watched that video and you watched the thing, Ev's it came down to the last game for Evan his parlay, and he was so close to hitting on all 8, and it missed on the very last one. You would personally, I would rather it be the first one than the last one, because the last one, when you're so close and you think you're going to win it and then it's taken away from you, it's horrible. You'd much rather lose the parlay. First game of the day, just get it out of the way and just let me move on. That has to be the one. I know it feels a little worse because you feel like you suck. It's like, well, I've lost the first one, but it's way better than having to sit on the edge of your seat carrying so much and then failing. Like, you don't want to do that. Is that an All-Star Garnett jersey? It is, Phil. Shout out to you. Got the Garnett. This is from try to pick this up, but I hope these lights don't fall now that I've hit them. This is from a few years ago. I stupidly bought this when I was like 11 years old. It was like, great idea, KJ. You're just about to grow 6 inches, and you bought this jersey you're going to be able to wear once. So that's basically what happened. I wore this once, and then I grew out of it. But good to still have around. Good news is I just found out my girlfriend fits in it, so it'll be hers now. But also good to hang in the background. of the sets. And it is the holiday season, so we're being safe and everything. But I am home with my family, so don't have my usual setup. Had to throw some things together. I got this wreath from as a additional Christmas present as I try to take it out and hopefully not like destroy everything that's over here. But yeah, this wreath was another Christmas present from my dad actually that he gave me. Pretty interesting. I might keep it up all year. It might just be in the background of my Celtics sets that I use that you guys normally see. But yeah, I don't think this has to be seasonal. This baby can be out all year long. So I'll try to. My phone falls there. Better the phone than anything else over here. But yeah, this wreath was pretty cool too. So that was one of the cooler little gifts I got. And again, that'll be around. That won't be the last you see of the wreath. But yeah, as I wanted to set up and kind of create a little bit of something, is this door won't close now of all things since I opened it. Okay, well, I'm just gonna do my best here. But the what was I saying now? Yeah, you'll see the wreath back home. I'll take the wreath back, and it'll be in the background of the sets for you guys to see there too. But yeah, so I was back home. I was just trying to create something for you guys to look at around me, and I got the wreath and the lights and everything, so it kind of works. All right, but yes, the Garnett All-Star jersey. It is a great little memento to have, even if I don't fit in it anymore. Evan saying, ball work, ball work, ball work. I don't know if you're referring to passing, but or something else, Ev. You're gonna have to elaborate on that. But yeah, the passing was great tonight. Evan saying that's a bit much for Cat because of how good Ayton is. So it's interesting, Evan, because I don't know. I think you could see it from both sides. I know this is referring back to the trade I proposed earlier of potentially for the Suns, Ayton, Bridges, and a bunch of picks for Karl-Anthony Towns. I think at the end of the day, Towns is an all-star. He's ready to win now. You capitalize on the Chris Paul window. He's better than Ayton for sure. Better offensively too. And I think, him and Booker are friends, so them playing together would work. Ayton and Bridges theoretically work better on the championship timeline with Anthony Edwards, even if they're never getting there. They work better on the contending timeline with Anthony Edwards than Cat does, and Cat works better with Booker and Chris Paul's timeline, which is supposedly going to come to an end sometime soon. So I think that big three would go well together. I think I would do that if I was the Suns, but I wanted to hear what you guys would think. Let's see. I was dreaming of doing Suns under 217 for this game. I think you're saying overall Celtics Suns under 217. What was it? I didn't bother to I didn't bother to look at this the over under for this one and what it ended up being at. 231 there. So yeah, it was a little bit over, unfortunately. But sorry about that one, Jay. And Evan saying, I'm not sure Tatum will pass the ball, and Neesmith is horrible. So I get rid of them and get some draft picks and build around JB and both of the Williamses. I think, again, that's a little too far. What team are you trading Jason Tatum for that you're going to get valuable draft picks? Are we sure Brad Stevens can draft? We don't even know if he can draft yet. You're not going to get another player as good as Jason Tatum. That's too much, okay? I'm telling you to stick it out. I'm telling you guys. If you just stick it out with the Jays, it'll be worth your while, okay? Now, even if you hit on the pick, it's you could just end up getting Brandon Ingram, the next Brandon Ingram, or whoever, pick another player across the league. Jason Tatum is a top 15, top 10 player in this league. You're not getting a guy like that in the draft very easily. You're just not, even if you have a top 5 pick. It's very, very rare. Even if you hit, you could get De'Aaron Fox, and that's not a top 15 guy. It's not a top 20 guy. It's so difficult. So to me, you hold on for dear life to Jason Tatum, and you cannot let him go. But all right, guys, if that's all the comments, we'll wrap up here soon. A couple other things I see Phil saying he wouldn't trade JT either. Phil, you got the right idea, Phil. I'm telling you right now. But overall, I think you guys hit on everything. It was just a complete game from the Celtics. Shout out to Grant Williams, who also, again, to re-emphasize that point, great in this game. Defensively, I know they showed it. Mark D'Amico tweeted out a clip if you guys want to go see it from the first quarter of him. Defensive possession he had against Devin Booker. He was great on that possession. played a lot of key roles. You saw like the block he had on Booker in the fourth quarter too, combining with Josh Richardson all over the court. Really, like, I know Grant Williams has just been, of all the negative things around the Celtics this season, Grant Williams has been one of the lone bright spots. I mean, the way he's progressed is just absolutely wonderful. It's been great. It's been theoretically exactly what the Celtics team has needed. And I mean, if he can continue to play this way and, be this player for the Celtics in the years to come, like, this is going to be, I just think he's going to be so perfect next to the Jays. I really do. And he could even start, when Al Horford decides to move on. If your starting lineup theoretically is Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Grant Williams, Robert Williams, I think that is good. I think that's good. And I'd be excited for that. I would. I think those guys, like Grant, can be that perfect little piece, even if he's coming off the bench. Even if you go get Bradley Beal and Beal starts at 2, Brown at 3, Tatum at 4, if you can get all those guys together, and Grant comes off the bench, he's a great bench piece, and he fit great next to any of those guys. Like, he is just progressing into exactly the player that you hoped he would be. So, and today he showed it in the post a little bit, and he showed it on the drive. Like, the Suns couldn't guard him. And in fairness, like, if Jay Crowder was around, maybe Jay Crowder could have guarded him, but Jay Crowder was out too. So maybe that would have been a good matchup for Phoenix. But outside of that, they really didn't have much of an answer for Grant today, and it's part of why he dropped 15 points. And it was a big 15 points Celtics needed. I thought Grant's impact scoring 15 was bigger than Josh Richardson scoring 19. And that's not to disrespect what Josh Richardson did at all. They needed it all to beat. When you're going up against, like I said, arguably the best team in the NBA, and the Phoenix Suns, you need everybody to contribute, and that's exactly what they got. But I would take Grant's contributions a little bit over that. And hey, you knock the Suns down, and now they don't have the best record in the NBA. It goes back to the Warriors, and man, they're going to be scary with Klay Thompson. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm just excited to watch that team and see, like, are they going to be able to regain that magic and be the championship favorite, and what are they going to be able to do? Because just to go off in a little aside here about the Warriors, like, I always wondered, do you trade Klay last year because Steph Curry's getting older for some other star to try to capitalize on the window? And the Warriors decided, no, we're not going to trade Klay for like James Harden, for example. We're going to wait it out, and we're just going to stick with Steph and Klay once we get him back. So you basically wasted a year of Steph, but was it worth it to get Klay Thompson back? And that's what I'm interested in seeing. Like, was it worth it? And I think it's going to be fun. I think it'd be really. I don't know if it'd be great for the league or not, but it would be interesting to me to see the Warriors win another title. So I want to see them go after that, and I think that'd be cool. Evan saying, I was referring to passing earlier, saying about what was it? Ball work. And you and Ev have never said anything negative about Grant. I don't know if I've said much negative about Grant. Like, I must have somewhere along the way. And I know you're joking, Evan. I know the joke you're making there. I got it. I got you. But I'm actually trying to think, like, in actuality, like, where and when have I said bad stuff about Grant Williams? Because I must have at some point along the way. Trust me. Grant was a funny guy, but he, at some points, man, he was frustrating last season. I think even he himself would probably admit that. You know what? My biggest Grant Williams slander is, I actually can remember it now. And I don't think it's going to pop up when I search it for myself. But I can't really find any of my tweets about Grant right now. But I'll tell you what, I do remember that I have one tweet from from last season, late last season, where I asked my girlfriend. We were on the couch, and I asked my girlfriend. I just turned to her. She doesn't know much about the Celtics, and I say, "Who do you think the worst player is on the court right now?" And she says, "For the Celtics." I'm like, "Yeah, like, just look at all the players. Like, who do you think is the worst?" And she looks at me and she goes, "Who's number 12?" And I just laughed, and I tweeted that out. And that's probably the biggest Grant Williams slander I've ever had. I also had this one. This was pretty good. I sarcastically tweeted, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it here. No, probably not, because it won't be in focus here. Hold on. I'll try to fix that for you guys real quick. Let's see if this works. It's probably not going to work, so that stinks. But and now I'm probably way out of focus now. Wow, this looks insanely. I don't think I messed with the color balance there. I don't know. Anyway, but the tweet says Celtics get Jeremy Grant, number 1 overall pick. Pistons get Grant Williams, number 45 overall pick. Who says no? So that was a bit of a sarcastic Grant tweet. But yeah, I don't know, guys. Go back in my Twitter and find out what the worst thing I said about Grant was. This was a pretty just to put this in perspective too. Hold on. That was an interesting one. Whatever. Anyway, doesn't matter. Grant's great now, so we don't need to talk about the past anymore. We don't need to talk about his past transgressions against us because he's balling out now. It's Gear saying you guys haven't already. Be sure to watch episode 11 of the Celtics Power Hour from yesterday. A lot of fun. You can see It's Gear, my 3-point shooting on display yesterday at about if you skip to 14:45, you'll be able to see it. Just trying to one up the Celtics there. So get me a 10-day contract. That's all I'm saying there. And Phil saying that the camera's not focused. I got you. Yeah, I couldn't get it to lock in there, but you guys can find my old Grant tweets whenever you want to dig up. Trading Grant for another Grant. Yeah. At this point, I don't know. I don't know if I would trade Grant Williams for Jeremy Grant. Pistons should have capitalized on it when they had the chance. Now I'm like, Grant Williams, he's actually really good. I don't know if I want to give up on him now. But I think that's where we're going to end it, guys. Happy New Year. Last stream of the year of any kind for Guy Boston Sports. Perfect timing as the camera dies. We couldn't end it without my camera dying one more time. Of course, that's going to happen. So I'll pull it up on the FaceTime anyway here, guys. But as I was saying, Happy New Year, everybody. I know that we've actually grown a lot this year. The YouTube has really blown up, and it's a credit to you guys. And honestly, another big shout out to Ev, because Ev has done so much on this channel, as you guys know, for a year, and building it up to be what it is now. And it's just going to keep getting bigger. And shout out to all you guys, like Phil, It's Gear, Evan, all you guys, and Birkin as well in here today. Just because I know you guys, and again, I just want to make sure I didn't forget It's Gear. I know it's because It's Gear, especially you've been here for a while and just supporting the channel. So shout out to all you guys for all the support you guys have shown this year. And I know we really appreciate it. I know Ev's really grateful, and everything that it's turned into. If you told me at the beginning of January that we'd have, over 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, I would have thought you were crazy. I really would have. It's been an incredible run. And hopefully 2022 is even better, and the world can inch closer back to normalcy. And, we can pack it all up and say that we made it through COVID, and then we can, get back to just cheering on the Celtics in the Garden without, masks and everything like that. And we can get back to normal life. But that's the hope for 2022. But until then, we appreciate you guys tuning into these streams always, whether it's myself, whether it's Ev, whether it's Jack, Tim, and Sam on the pregame shows. And by the way, in 2022, we're going to have a lot more for you guys. We're going to have more streams coming to the channel, more podcasts, everything. There's already stuff in the works, and people on the way making more content. And you're going to see a lot more faces around here doing stuff. And we really appreciate it. Phil exposing Ev right now. I can guarantee you, I know for an absolute fact that Ev is already completely wasted right now. That Ev is out of it. Ev has already shotgunned 5 beers. Are you kidding me? After that Celtics win, there is no way that Ev is not completely just absolutely drunk right now, completely shit-faced. But yeah, I'm sure Ev is. Ev will do a shotgun for sure. I don't know if you guys will see it. I don't know if it'll post it on Twitter or anything, but I guarantee you Ev is shotgunning right now on New Year's Eve just to celebrate. So anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it up for this one. Wrap it up for 2021, and we'll see you in 2022 for more streams. Shout out to you guys as always for coming through on the Patriots post games. I guess I'll see you, not too long, Sunday. We'll see you back Sunday. I'll be back on my normal set, and we'll talk about the Patriots win over the Jaguars, because it is going to be a win. Don't drink and drive. Yeah, great message by Phil to everybody. Don't drink and drive tonight. but have some fun and enjoy yourself if you can. Safely and responsibly and all those good things. But that's going to do it, guys. Once again, I just don't want to leave, But as we pass the 40-minute mark, I'll call it. Okay, guys? Happy New Year. We'll see you guys.